Welcome to the Christian Life Coach Collective. I am your host, Laura Malone, and we're here to talk about life coaching, entrepreneurship, leading yourself well, and lots of spirit-led life and business strategies. So thanks for joining me on this journey, and let's jump into today's episode.
Hi there, friends. This episode is, let's just say, real life episode number 42. I think for the past couple of years, I've probably done some other episodes like this where I was just showing up because I needed to show up. I wanted to show up. And even though it was hard to show up, I did it anyway because I believe in my commitment to the consistency of this podcast. And sometimes I just want to step away from all the tips and all the tools and truths and all the things that I love to share. And I just want to give you real life. So I feel like the only way that I can share real life tips with you is by sharing my real life and telling you this is how I'm navigating it. This is what I'm finding that works, and this is what I find that doesn't. And especially because I look at my life through the lens of coaching, self-development, like personal growth. I don't want to spin in the same place. I don't want to cycle through things. I want to be healthy where I'm at, but I'm still just in process. And so there's a measure of giving myself the grace that I need so that I can survive. And then survival, it happens for a while in certain seasons of our lives, and we have to do the work to shift into thriving. We go through so many seasons and circumstances and events in our lives that are trying and hard and sometimes terrible. We get through and we survive. And some people stay in survivalhood. And some people leave survivalhood and they move into the victimhood, midhood. I've done it. I've been there. And sometimes some people move into thriving. And here's what happens. When you move into thriving, you don't necessarily move out of the circumstance. Thriving is more internal than it is external. Thriving is something that happens in your soul. Because people who look like they're thriving on the outside could be desperately dying on the inside. So we can't actually say that somebody's circumstances, the way they look on the outside to us, are perfect. They should be thriving. They should just be grateful for what they have because we compare it into what we have. Their life is perfect. Like, that doesn't work for anybody. It doesn't work when people do it to us. It doesn't work when we do it to other people. Thriving is on the inside. No matter what your external circumstances are, if you're thriving, it is still deep. And, I believe this, it's all starting in your paradigm. Your belief systems and your thought life are the root system to how you feel and what you do and all of the fruit that you bear in your life. If you're thriving, it's starting with your mind. It's starting with a belief system that has some kind of root that creates thought that say, but God, or there's hope, or what if it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be, or any kind of thought that you might think that is new to the circumstance that brings hope. Because remember, hope is to the mind what blood is to the body. We've got to have it. And sometimes what happens is, regardless of circumstances, somebody offers us a new thought that brings hope. Or we have it ourselves. But sometimes you hear somebody else say something, maybe you read a scripture, or maybe you interpret something that's happening or something you're reading differently than you interpreted it before, and you have a new vision. Something literally means just a new plot. What is God will use this terrible circumstance and turn something into good out of it. So, all that said, I want to give you permission to be in your process. And I want to give you permission. This is probably going to go against every personal development book. But I just so believe in the grace and in the process. And I trust God with the end. So I give you permission that if you need to spend some time in victimhood or survivalhood to ever get to thriving, it's going to be okay. Let that be a new thought. Things are really hard. Life might just suck right now. Or maybe it's just, gosh, so busy and so trying and so fatiguing. Maybe it's not terrible, but all the good things have worn you down. Well, just be there. Give yourself some grace and some self-compassion and be there in it. I find that when I try to push myself through it faster than what my soul can really process, especially if I feel there's an external pressure from other people to move more quickly through my grief and my disappointment, my pain, my offense, and my hurt, when I try to do that, what happens is I suffer and I shove that under a rug, and that it comes out of the rug eventually, or I trigger under it. I'd rather stay in process as long as I know to say it's awful. And yet sometimes we need somebody to take us out of it and say, now you just made a habit of that. You don't need to survive anymore. You're not a victim. Let the transform by. And sometimes we need help doing that. Sometimes it's a process we actually use into it. But I'm not going to ever be the person that told you you need to get over it and get over it quickly. Everybody has their own timing, and nobody can see or hear or know or understand besides that what you're going through and what it's the toll that it's taken on you, the depth of pain and the suffering. Even if you're putting on a good show on the outside so that you can survive, it's okay. I've heard people in the past say this or that church, this or that job, whatever. People are fake. You ask them how they're doing. They say fine. You know it's not true. Well, no, it's not true. Most of us aren't trying. But we're not just going to talk to anybody about it. Just because you ask me how I'm doing at church, I really don't want my answers, but I'm very honest. And I don't think you're asking me because you want an answer. I think you're being polite. And that's okay. I'm going to be polite back and say, fine, thanks, how are you? Treating up my person. My counselor, my coach, my son friend, my dream allies, or an investor in my life. There's somebody who's slightly advanced to me, transmuting. And I think that we come at fast, we say, in the eyes, whether being polite, we think it's okay. But when you had with people in your life that aren't in polite, when they say, tell me what's going on, they really am. You're going to be there for you. Those are the people you need to get on this with. You need to have a place to pour out and have them. And sometimes you don't have those people. And sometimes we have those people, but we don't believe we have those people. We don't feel like we have anybody who would listen to us. We don't feel like we have somebody who can trust. And I would challenge you to question that and ask yourself, who could I practice then? Processing. Who could I see if they feel comfortable and safe to process with? Just take a little something in their life and try practicing being vulnerable about it with someone you think might be able to trust. And see what happens. Did you want your life thinking with any with anybody? I want you to challenge that. And I want you to ask, why seemingly safe system? So to hold faith for you and one help area and learn to grow through it. back to the real life, he was a first. It's very and really hard to have I for suddenly get crazy. And so Hurricane and I both have serious who are from older and having healthcare issues, struggles and challenges that there's nothing you can do about. You can do up here and so live weird. And then they have scientists who are caregivers that are the key and have caregivers that they to have to disability. They're worn valley. My husband and I, we had friends about me just before that we were still being before we started our love. We have always lived, we've always traveled, and now we live many states away by south of Oregon. So it's fatiguing and painful, hard to not be able to care for our loved one because we're not near them. But we have an entire family of our nonprofit that we do care for in many ways, and we run that, and we travel, we deploy, and we take care of our staff, and my husband does the majority of this today because I have started some mentoring, and I just have the greater role with the kids in the house, and I have stopped traveling and deploying as much. But in the midst of all of that, we have health issues and healthcare appointments for both of us, things that we're going through. And based on everything that we've done, there's health issues because my husband was at ground zero, and we both had measures of PTSD that we've had to deal with over the years, adrenal fatigue, and so many things that he catches quite surprise. Plus, we have teenagers, and our youngest about to start driving, and one that has graduated, and one that moved into missions with YWAM, and is traveling the world with that now, and a daughter and a son that are in their 20s, well, I guess 30, and they don't live in the same state. And you know what? Having kids, it's a different version when they're younger. You're chasing them, and you're cleaning them, and you're changing their clothes and diapers, and you're feeding them, and you're making all your decisions, and it's tiring. And then they get older, you're the different kind of parent with the time mental. And it can be really okay. And there's a lot of free, a lot of thoughts. We know a lot of you we have graduate. They're just not ready to think them. They're ready for it. They're coming up the grace of God. Even the grace of there's a grief. Even in the grief. Because maybe not the frequent rarity and what come out from birth and moving on in the journey of here. You have to shift the right to bring tuning from it. Getting into the private storm. That's how you find yourself. No matter what they do, parents, you, only the flicker can go and probably back from anything you didn't matter if it's second place one. She thought she hold on to the Ritzy fund because to know it's a weak bar. Then you have to be a little teenage. Relying herself in full out the tree in your thought. And instead of operating from a place of perfectionism or a place of pain, from a place of comparison, and from a place of, but I should have this, be there, do that by now, I really encourage you. Give yourself grace and let yourself be in the process. Over the years, whether as a coach or not, The only thing that works in times of trial is grace. That's what I know. You've got to turn to the truth and hold on to the truth that you need to give yourself grace. You have to let yourself really be in the process that you alone need. And you might not be able to define what that process is, and you might not know how long it's going to take. And none of that matters. Don't focus on that. Focus on your healing. Focus on being in the Word. Focus on taking yourself into the next piece of the journey, just taking the next step as you can. Everybody has their own healing process, and so don't compare yours to anybody else's. Everybody has their own way of grieving. Mine is stoic and sarcastic, and I get by as a youngest child, very independent, basically raised myself in a lot of ways, and I have lived with a husband who, for the past 22 years, is not home all of the time. And in the midst of it, sometimes I'm with him, but there's always a crisis. And we've homeschooled and moved 19 times in 22 years. We've had 19 addresses. It's, what I do, I survive it. And when I put a cap on it and say I can only survive it this far, or I only have permission to survive this way, now don't get me wrong, there's healthy ways to survive and there's unhealthy ways to survive. And so that's when I'll refer you to thinking about how do you use external things or people to buffer so that you don't have to feel or think about or experience or stay in something that doesn't feel good. Life is great and terrible. And you're going to have to accept both of them. We don't have a right to a life that's 100% great all of the time. There will be struggles and suffering. And the good news is Jesus is with us when we're in it, because he didn't say we wouldn't have any. He said he'd be with us. So, yeah, this is literally 18 minutes of me telling you to give yourself grace, me telling you to survive, but move into thriving the best way you know how. Get in the Word, read books, talk to God, ask others to be with you in it, share your story. Sometimes the greatest healing comes from moving out and ministering to other people and their loss and getting out of your head and into somebody else's. And I've seen that time and again in our nonprofit work, where somebody who's lost everything goes out and becomes a responder to those who've just recently lost everything. And so much healing occurs for them because they stepped out of their zone and into somebody else's. And now they see what a blessing it is to have the compassion and empathy that they can offer to someone else, that they can reach out a helping hand to somebody so they can share what somebody else did with them when they were in need, or do for others what no one did for them. It's so healing to get out of your own pit, climb the ladder, get out. And it doesn't matter how long it takes you to climb the ladder, meet people along the way, and pour into them right where you're at. One of the most healing things I know that you can do. And I think no matter where I'm at in my process, my coaching and my business is my ministry. So I get to constantly pour into other people, regardless of where I'm at, what I feel, how hard things are. I have a place. I've created a container where I can pour out into other people's lives. In this podcast, in the Greenhouse Life Coach training, in the Call to Coach course, in our monthly calls with my clients one-on-one. Like, I have created containers and spaces and times so that I never lack for someone to pour into. And it is one of the most healing things I've ever done in my life, to have a place where I know I can go give. Whether I'm being paid for it or not doesn't matter. I just need the people and want to be able to sow into other people. And it really gets me out of my own space. It pulls me, it gives me purpose and reason to climb out of my pit. So I, again, just want to encourage you, be in process. Don't try to rush it. Don't sweep it under the rug. Allow yourself to experience the emotions that you're experiencing because they need permission to process through and out. Emotions are biochemical experiences in your body. Emotions are physical and they're stimulated, they're happening because of things that you're thinking. And if you define a circumstance as the worst day of your life, then you're going to have emotions associated with the worst day of your life. If you think about a circumstance and say, this is bad, but I'm going to make it through, your emotions will follow suit. But you still have to give every emotion you have permission to be all the way processed so that it can actually get out of your body. It's an energy. Every emotion is actually a physical energy. Remember carbohydrates? That's how we measure energy in the food that we eat. And they go into our body and they give us energy or they take energy, depending on what we're talking about. So energy is a real thing in your body. God created it. It's how we function. And emotions are an energy source. They're actually happening in an energy. And you need to allow them to process and feel it as long as you can. Go watch a sad movie. If you need to cry, but you're struggling to get tears out, go be alone. Put yourself in the car, scream at a parking lot inside your car. Whatever you have to do to actually let that emotion process all the way through so that it can leave. Otherwise, it gets stuck and it's just staying in your body because you swept it under the rug. You deny it, you ignore it, you avoid it, you buffer with other things, you eat more, you drink, you go shopping, you binge Netflix, whatever your thing is, as good as it is. Maybe you work out for, 2 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's buffering. It's unnecessary. Go be healthy. Go work out. But if you're using it to avoid your emotions, that's buffering. And it's not good for you. So allow yourself to process the emotions. Go serve other people in some capacity. Pour yourself out somewhere else and get out of your own pity party. Leave the pit. Go see what somebody else is dealing with. And just give yourself grace. It's not all black and white. There's a lot of gray in life. And you don't need to do this perfectly. You just need to have space and time. You're going to come through this. Have hope. Jesus is an anchor of hope for your soul. And I encourage you to turn to him, no matter what the season is. Just like with raising kids, the seasons are long. The days are long, but the seasons are short. Almost said it incorrectly. If the seasons were long and the days were short, that'd be weird. The days are long in hard times, but the seasons really are short. And you just are normally not going to be able to see that until you have hindsight. So bless you, friend. I'm praying for you that no matter what you're in the middle of right now, you find hope, restoration, truth, solace, a confidant, and overall, that you're able to find the path into a thriving life. Have a great day.
Hey friends, don't forget to jump into the Christian Life Coach Collective Facebook group if you haven't already, so you can connect with like-directed people and get free resources and ask for feedback, all the things that are going to help support you on your calling as a coach. I hope to see you in there, and don't forget to subscribe to the show.